Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Monday Spotlight of 2020. And I know that I keep saying repeatedly, get to know people, ask questions, be curious, but man, it turns out he's not just an uber sports enthusiast, but he really is truly a well-rounded gentleman. So without further ado, what is your name and where are you from?
My name is Greg Lindberg, and I'm from Wesley Chapel, Florida.
What is your eye condition?
So I have Leber's congenital amaurosis, LCA for short, and basically it's a degenerative retinal condition very similar to retinitis pigmentosa, which people are a lot more familiar with. And yeah, so I always thought I had RP up until about 8 or 9 years ago when I had genetic testing done, and they found out it was actually LCA. Who knew?
How long have you been involved with ACB?
So I first joined the Pinellas Council of the Blind here in Florida back in the fall of 2013, and so I've been a member of that, for over 7 years now. And then I guess it was 2016 when I really got involved at the state level with the Florida Council of the Blind, and I became the editor of the White Cane Bulletin, which is it's a bi-monthly, publication for FCB, and did that for 4 years. And that opportunity actually led to me winning the Derwick K. McDaniel First Timer Award in 2016 for that convention. So that was really my first introduction to ACB at the national level. And really, just, in terms of next gen, we can definitely get into that. But it all kind of, one thing led to another, and here I am.
Why did you join ACB and or Next Gen?
So ACB, in general, I think I had come to a point in my life where I really didn't know, I shouldn't say came to a point, but I really, for a long time, did not know very many blind or visually impaired people. And I think, I wouldn't say it was denial, but in some ways it was like, I don't want to be lumped into that group. I don't want to be part of that category, so to speak. And so I think, I was in my mid 20s when I eventually joined the local chapter. And so I think it was really wanting to connect with that community, and just making those connections, those friendships, those relationships, just, everything that comes along with being able to interact and communicate with other blind people, and just being able to relate to challenges, and sharing information on technology and sports, which is a big thing I'm into. And I mean, there's just so many benefits to being connected to those who are, kind of like you, basically. And it's, really, I wish I would have joined ACB years earlier, to be honest.
Dude, are you on any committees or hold an office within ACB or Next Gen?
Yeah, so within Next Gen, I am the secretary, and I also co chair the PR committee with my good brother from another mother, Stephen
Hmm?
Salas, and really enjoy both of those roles.
I've noticed you two do laugh a lot.
Oh yeah, we definitely bust each other's chops, and keep it light, which I think is important.
What is the best thing about being a Next Gen member?
Definitely being able to connect with younger members. Obviously we're geared toward those 40 and under. Of course, anyone 40 and over. We certainly support and have supporting members. And there's so much we can learn, obviously, from those who've been involved in ACB longer than a lot of Next Gen members have. Being able to talk to people in your generation, again, relating to different challenges of those in their 20s, 30s, 40s, versus those, who could be my parents, potentially grandparents in some cases. obviously there's a difference, and you can learn a lot more from, in my opinion, those around your age, just because we're all going through somewhat similar experiences or have gone through similar experiences, versus a lot of older individuals. While many of them have been visually impaired their whole lives, it's obviously more common for them to lose, for anyone to lose vision or have less vision, in older age. So
Who would you love to work with in ACB?
I know I have considered getting involved in the Friends in Art affiliate. Being a singer and a guitar player, I definitely love music, and would love to be able to write my own music and kind of have that creative outlet. Because as of now, I tend to just kind of play covers and sing cover songs and whatnot. But would love to be able to connect with people in that affiliate.
What are your goals outside of ACB?
Definitely career wise, I'm always looking for professional development opportunities, advancement. So I have worked in marketing and PR for the last 8 years full time, two different jobs. The current job I've had for about 3.5 years. And, really love the field, love the opportunity to write. I've always loved writing since I can remember. Used to really be more into the creative type fictional writing, but that changed at some point, and love just the concept of writing news, as a journalism major, writing news stories, news articles, interviewing people, just writing informational, educational type content. And so I fortunately have had the opportunity to do that full time for a while now. And, certainly would love more opportunity to potentially manage writers in the future and have a team, whether it's marketing, PR, or, potentially even say kind of the newsy type journalism field more so. Would love to be able to be in a managerial type position at some point. And I also do a podcast called Eyes Free Sports, again, relating back to beat baseball and
Mhm,
sports for the blind in general.
mhm.
And so that's another goal of mine. I'd love to be able to start, whether it's a beat baseball team, some type of sports organization, and also tie in that podcast to that. So, being able to offer opportunities for blind and visually impaired people to participate in sports, but also still have that kind of informational side in terms of the podcast and, advocacy, raising awareness about all these different sports and opportunities.
So, at the initial beginning of your answer there, you said you're really into interviewing people and have a journalism background. So, how come you're not doing what I'm doing?
I do way too much of it at work and in other ways. So,
I'm like, I wasn't trained in this. You were. You should be doing this. This year's national convention's theme was A Path to the Future. What does that look like to you?
yeah, I think that's, can be interpreted in many ways. And to me, I think next gen is and should be a big part of that. We have to get more and more younger individuals, and I'm not just talking, students, but people say under the age of 50 or 60, more involved in ACB and, much more involved and have more opportunities to move up the ladder, to be part of the ACB board, to be state presidents, to be affiliate presidents. I think that's the way that this organization and unfortunately many membership, consumer organizations out there are going to be able to continue to exist. because they say in general, younger people are just not joining, they're not becoming members of groups like they used to in the past. So it's not just a challenge that ACB has faced, but it's across the board. Also, I think technology is a big one. These ACV community calls, 300 plus community calls a month, I think they've had recently. I mean, that's crazy, but that's so exciting. And honestly, I keep thinking, man, why didn't we start doing this years ago? It's like it's funny how COVID has just changed so many things, but when you look back, it's kind of crazy thinking, how did we not think of this before? How did we not adopt this technology that's been around for several years, even just a few years ago and start doing these things before? But not just COVID, but obviously Cindy Hollis and many others within ACB have been very instrumental in organizing these calls and coming up with different ideas. And to me, this has been kind of a new. It's a whole new phase for ACB, and I think it's extremely exciting. Even though we did not have, the face-to-face convention this year, I think just these community calls alone have been a huge, strengthening mechanism, so to speak, within the organization. And I think we should just have more and more of those opportunities to connect using technology, using platforms like Zoom, just to really connect states, to connect affiliates, to connect everyone, all over the country. And to me, I think that's kind of the bottom line to your original question about the path forward. I think it's all about ACB members working together and being able to collaborate. No matter where people live. And I think that's it's been exemplified in the global economy and just obviously globalization in general. And to me, I think there's so many exciting things coming down the pike because of these connections that we've been able to make this year as ACB members.
What makes you smile?
Uh, Happy people, people who are funny, people who like to have fun. And to me, it's such a cliche, but laughter is the best medicine. And
It is.
I always, it's, it
Science
really
backs you up
is.
there. Science totally backs you up.
Okay. Thanks, science. Appreciate that. But I guess to get maybe a little more serious, in terms of my job and the work I do, my day job, when I do something well and a colleague of mine or my boss compliments me on how well I've done something, definitely makes me smile. Just gives me that extra motivation, energy. Um, and I think just again, people who are positive, people who are upbeat, make me smile a lot. Animals, I love animals. Love dogs. Do hope to be a guide dog handler at some point. Just, animals are amazing creatures and smarter than we'll ever know.
Oh, yeah.
So,
So, what's
um,
holding you back from getting a guide dog or seeing eye dog or whatever school you choose to go to?
yeah, it's been kind of a lengthy process. So I did apply to one school last year, and last I heard, hopefully in another year, I will have a dog from them. A big thing for me is the breed, so I am allergic to short-haired dogs, unfortunately. I really would love to have a poodle or this one I applied to. I applied for a Barbet, which is a very new uh,
Oh, yeah.
breed to the guide dog realm. I don't think any schools have used them before, but
What school?
it's Freedom Guide Dogs.
Okay.
Yep. And so this is a brand new breed for them, and the dogs currently are still with the puppy raisers now, and will
Hmm.
be for probably another at least 6 months.
Yeah. And then they got to go through formal training.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of been the reason, because I know I talked to some people and they're like, "Oh, I got a dog in 3 months," and it's like, man, I gotta wait 2 years. Like, this is not fair. But I've definitely learned, a certain breed, but even the poodles, it does take longer to
Hmm.
go through that process to get
Yep.
that specific breed, just because there are obviously not as many of them
Yep.
available, being bred, being trained, being raised. So that's been a
Yep.
big holdup.
Are you a night owl or a lark?
Definitely a night owl. I definitely tend to stay up later than I should, and not that I stay up all night, having a day job. Obviously, I got to get some sleep, but yeah, I'm not a morning person.
Is there an outfit or piece of clothing that makes you feel amazing?
I had a boss in my last job, and he was basically trying to get everyone in the office to dress a little more professionally, and he pretty much said, the nicer you dress, the more confident and better you're going to feel in yourself, and hence the more productive you're going to be in your work. And at the time, being a little younger, I was like, really? Like, I don't know about that.
Turns out he
But
might be right.
yeah, and honestly, with COVID and everything, and wearing, t-shirts most days, and shorts or jeans,
Hmm.
and because normally, the job I have working for the university that I work for, it's business casual. So normally I'd wear, a polo, or, a nice dress shirt, collared shirt,
Hmm.
and slacks, khaki pants, what have you, into the
Hmm.
office. And in some ways, I kind of miss that. I mean, maybe I should just pull those clothes out of the closet for the hell of it, because maybe it would
Yeah.
actually make me feel better, even though I don't have to wear them. But I
Well,
will say, just, a nice polo and slacks,
hmm,
it does actually, at least for me, literally boost the confidence.
well, from my own experience, it makes me feel better when I do it, like particularly if I'm doing it for myself as like part of self-care, then
Yep.
yeah, it does amazing things. I mean, I think you've seen some of my posts where I'm getting dressed and taking myself out for a date, even all I'm doing is walking around the
Yeah.
neighborhood. Like I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it for anyone else. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not getting dressed up in formal wear, don't get me wrong, because like, well, yeah, no. But I'm dressing a little nicer and it does a person good.
No doubt, yeah. And I mean, I've always been fairly casual, but I've become much, just ridiculously casual
Oh,
because
you're
of
not the
COVID.
only one. You
And
are not the only one. I have yet to
it's,
hear anyone that, mm-hmm.
and I know it's going to be tough transitioning back to quote unquote the new normal, whatever that's going to look like. But
Yeah, I bet things are going to stay a lot more virtual than they have because after this, people are going to be a little bit more open to uh, doing, having their employees be remote.
for sure, yep. But I definitely think I'm going to kind of heed your advice, and what you've done. Just throw on some nice clothes for one day, or a few
Hmm.
days here and there. And it's like, why not?
Hmm.
If it's gonna make you feel better, hey, go for
Yeah, yeah. Where have you traveled and or where do you want to travel to?
it. Yeah, so I've been very fortunate to have had parents who love to travel. And I've been to Europe 3 times, the
Oh,
Mediterranean twice, and Scandinavia
jealous.
once.
Yo.
I also have been to Alaska. Absolutely loved Alaska.
Alaska was amazing.
Yep, we took a helicopter on top of a glacier and got to go dog sledding
Oh,
on that glacier, and that was probably the most fun thing I've ever done,
yep,
honestly. That
yep,
was so neat.
yep.
But yeah, would love to check out other parts of Europe that I've not been to. Canada, have never really been to any parts of Canada. Hawaii, would love to do Hawaii at some point. And either Australia and New Zealand, maybe both, down the road.
What was one of your craziest adventures and how has that impacted your life?
This was not at a convention. Might have been actually at one office that I worked at one point, and
Oh, crap.
I actually went in, had no idea it was the women's bathroom and was in the stall because, for whatever reason, that was my only option. So, didn't even think twice about that fact, but, so was doing my thing and, again could hear a female come on in and do her thing, and I, basically waited in there till she left till I got out. So,
Uh,
fortunately, I was still in the stall the whole time, so
yeah,
maybe she
yeah.
saw the shoes, but hopefully she didn't say anything, so hopefully she didn't really notice or just didn't want to say anything.
Oh man.
Yup, gotta love it.
What is your next adventure?
Probably the guide dog would be kind of my next big goal and big adventure, I would even call it. Just, having seen other people getting a guide dog, what that guide dog does for them in their lives and
Yeah,
how it
so
benefits them.
it's your
And
first dog, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be an adventure.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a hidden quirky talent?
Yes. I think it's hidden and I think it's quirky enough to mention. So I can basically play notes on my teeth.
Oh,
If that makes
wow.
sense.
No, it does. It does. It totally does.
So I'm gonna try to, I guess we'll say, play Happy Birthday on my teeth here, or with my teeth.
This is so awesome.
Okay, let's see here.
That's freaking amazing. That came across loud and clear. That was awesome. What book changed your life?
The Encyclopedia of Sports and Recreation for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Wow.
Again, who knew there was ever a book out there as such? I mean, especially a book in general, but an encyclopedia
Dude,
of this information.
dude.
So, and I do have to give a shout out to Andrew Liebs is the name of the author, and I actually did have him on my podcast at one point.
Oh, epic.
Um, so he's done a ton of research on sports. I mean, just stuff you'd never think of. Obviously there's baseball, goalball, hockey's becoming a thing, soccer,
Is it?
tandem cycling, all the
Dude.
Paralympic stuff, but even stuff like basketball and just, volleyball. I mean, games that you'd never really think could be adapted, football. Just things that you'd never think could ever be adapted for a blind person that, there isn't an actual team or organization for that, but there has been some type of effort or someone has tried at one point or another to play these sports. And that book was such an eye opener and really a big inspiration for me starting my podcast and really getting interested in, these different sports and activities. And there's so many sport there, I've tried a few sports, but there's so many that I want to try just because of that book and knowing that they actually do exist. And
Dude.
so yeah, that book is very unique. It is on, I know it's on Bard, it's available through NLS and whatnot. It's, yeah, just such a unique compilation.
Dude. Who would you love to meet in fact, fiction, or fantasy?
Just thinking of like, US presidents, for example.
Mhm.
Uh, Abe Lincoln. I mean, that guy was, wow.
Dude.
He only served what, basically one term, maybe one and a little more, but
Yet we still talk about him a lot.
oh yeah, yeah, and makes you wonder if he had not lost his life when he did, how maybe he'd be remembered even more fondly,
Right.
or whatnot. I
Hmm.
mean, maybe some people don't like him. I mean, that's maybe he is polarizing. Is a better word for him.
Hmm.
But would love to be able to have a conversation with someone like an Abe Lincoln. I'm a huge game show nerd, so have always loved The Price is Right. I definitely want to be on the show, at least be in the audience at some point post COVID.
Well, okay,
Um,
so who's doing it? It's not Bob Barker anymore, is it?
no, it's been Drew Carey for 13 years now,
Oh,
which is hard to
Jesus.
believe.
Wow.
But speaking of Bob Barker, who is still kicking, barely apparently, would love to be able to talk to him, maybe a slightly younger version of himself.
Hmm. Like a 1980s version?
Oh yeah, when he still had the darker hair, was dyeing it, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, just I did dress up for him, dress up as him for Halloween one time,
Oh,
and
nice.
had the long skinny mic and the the white hair wig and the suit,
And
get
the
up,
fake
the
tan?
whole yeah, kind of.
Sometimes he'd be just a little on the hair side of orange.
But yeah, would love to meet Bob, and Happy Gilmore, definitely my favorite movie of all time.
Oh,
And the scene with Adam Sandler
yes.
and Bob Barker, just man,
Yes.
you can't beat that. That's classic
Oh,
comedy right there.
yes.
And the whole line about the price is wrong, bitch. And then Bob turns
Oh,
around and is like, now you've had enough,
I
bitch.
love it. Yep. Yep.
So,
I love how irreverent Adam Sandler can be. I really enjoy that about him.
oh yeah, oh yeah, yup. So yeah, I would say those two. Obviously, Abe Lincoln and Bob Barker have nothing to do with each other, but
No, that's okay. Just shows your diversity of
would
interest. That's all.
yeah, let's go with those two.
Sounds good. What gives you confidence?
Yeah, I think going back to something we talked about earlier, in terms of my job and my work, when I say write an article, write something that, a coworker really praises me on, or a boss praises me on, and especially, when my content is used on, say, social media and or in email marketing, and knowing that, my writing, my work is making a difference in the marketing PR realm for my role. That definitely gives me a lot of confidence, that positive feedback. Same with the podcasts I do, because I do a podcast both personally, the Eyes Free Sports one, and also one for the university I work for. So just getting that positive feedback, from those who consume the content, not necessarily saying, Greg, you're great, you're awesome, but your work
Oh,
is awesome. What you
yeah.
produce is awesome.
Yes.
It really strikes a chord with me. It really makes an impact. and knowing that I can be behind that impact makes me feel really good and really confident. Knows that I'm, in the right field, basically, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Have learned a thing or two along the way and am able to apply that and continue to learn and build on my skill set and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be the big thing.
Nice. What are your passions?
I would say I have several passions. Like I've talked about, writing has always been a huge passion of mine
Mhm.
to be able to.
What is it that Greg is able to do? Find out next time when we release part 2 of Greg Lindberg's interview. In the meantime, we will be posting a few extra things in the next few months other than Monday Spotlight. So please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to click notifications and notifications all so you don't miss a single thing. Until then, this is Desiree A. Christian. See you next time.